All right, mine. Just kidding.
So excited.
I guess first things first, there's still dinner in the back if y'all want to grab any food. So feel free, there's drinks. And if you need to use the restroom, please just excuse yourself. But this is the first series of 4 series of summer school. So thank you everybody for taking time in your precious weeknight evenings to learn a little bit more, progress your small business, progress where you want to drive your business to. I also was a graduate of this summer school program 2 years ago. So just paying it back, paying it forward. Today we will be talking about your back office. And what does that really mean? We'll go into some of the details, but it's really the support functions around your business, so the core, your heart of your business. There are going to be some other sessions coming up in the coming weeks. I think there's one about AI, there's one about credit history, how to manage your own credit, and I think the last one is about business financials. So a lot of good stuff. It's not your whole gambit of small businesses, small business challenges or topics, but this will at least get your brain flowing and thinking about certain areas of your business where it may or may not need help, but this is good education anyway. So thank you guys for coming out here. Let's start off with an icebreaker. And we'll do a round robin for all the attendees. We'll target 1 minute each, but just want to get people flowing. I don't want to just be a straight lecturer. It's not fun for me. So more discussion, more Q&A, more current events, some challenges, what you guys have seen. We're all in different industries. I'm in the food manufacturing industry, food production. There's services here, there's real estate here, there's other food. So more engagement, that's what I'm looking for. So why don't we just start on the left. Let's start off with your full name, your role, what business and industry you're in, who are your customers, and then what's a current business challenge right now. You can think about it in a big scale, or you can think about, oh man, I ran into a problem today. And hopefully maybe we can talk about those throughout the next hour or so. And then what are some of your expectations from this summer school series of 4 classes? So we'll start off with Tony.
Hello everybody, my name is Tony. I'm with Titan Environmental. I'm the general manager. I've been with them for 15 years. We have about like 40 employees. We do environmental testing, so we help contractors with environmental work, speed up their jobs, or hazardous assessments. So
Like mold testing?
mold testing, asbestos testing, fentanyl testing, marijuana houses, anything that's illicit drugs or hazardous. We help with customers or manufacturers if they need OSHA compliance. We help with that type of environmental work. For our customers, pretty much everybody. We do work with insurance companies too, so if there's a claim, we're one of the consultants in that industry that does the environmental consulting for them, so if you have a fire or something. Current business challenges, we're growing right now. We have over 40 employees, so as we continue to progress, we need better, or we're trying to improve our middle management to manage our business. So, and what I'm trying to learn here is, you know what you don't know, so I'm just trying to find out what else is out there.
Hi, I'm Rin. Actually, I'm just like restarting. I was in small business before, so I wanted like to start learning all the basics again. So, I know I'm going jumpy. So, you know, starting this business, which is just internet platform. I do have a background in more marketing, but in the tech industry, my customers still trying to figure out that space right now. So business challenge just starting. So expectation just to relearn everything.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Jazz. I would say I'm a freelancer. I work with a lot of restaurants to market their restaurant and their food on my platform on social media. My customers are, well, yeah, the restaurants themselves, collaborate with them, showcase all the foods they have, and then challenge right now I think is just aiming for a certain amount of views that's worthy enough for our client, and then I don't really have any expectations. I just wanted to like meet people and see, learn from their experiences.
And Ella?
Okay, I'm Ella, and I just started this business in 2021. But I was still VP of Travel and Nursing, a year ago. So this is the first time I'm really growing my business. Business and industry. I started as I wanted solutions actually for small businesses because I've already grown 3 small businesses. All owners were absentee and they're now rich, and everybody was pushing me to do it on my own. So I won about 1.6 billion contracts, but not mine. The problem is I came here I wanted to start my business to provide solutions for small businesses because I know how to win contracts. The problem is everybody's pulling me to go back to where I was good at, and government contracting, because that's what I'm good at. So it's hard because I'm trying to present a different solution, but the opportunities are other companies want to team with me to go back to what I was doing the past 20, 30 years. Which is not a bad problem, right?
Yeah.
But it's not what I was thinking. So my expectation is, even if actually I've been already speaker for Metro, everything, right now I'm new. I'm starting over, I'm new. It doesn't matter what everybody's saying, it's different when you're the owner with your own payroll.
Yep.
Doesn't matter.
Jean?
Yeah, my name is Jean. I'm in the financial service industry for 16 years. And I'm working on the personal and the company's retirement plan. So focus on the 401k, single IRA, and Roth, those retirement plans for people to have a better life in the future. And then my customer, most of them are from the referral. So if you do a good job, people refer to people to you. And my current business challenge is that our office are expanding. We need more people because a lot of baby boomers retire. We need more people to help us on the retirement plan, and for their 401k, what can they move to? So we need to help a lot of people. But we are looking for very many good quality people. Not only to make money in the financial business, is to provide a good service for each individual client. And the expectations, I like to learn. So no matter what kinds of learning opportunities, I'll show up and get to know people too. Yeah. So I like to learn.
Great. Thanks. Yourself?
My name is Carlene. I'm in real estate, and I started my own company in real estate property management about 2 years ago. I started it because a lot of my friends actually, a lot of software engineer travels abroad during the pandemic, and they kind of go back to Asia and go back to where they're from. So, and then they just reach out to me to manage their property because they always get a lot of advice from me for real estate. And I started working for 2 of my realtor friends who have a lot of rental markets. So for realtors, they don't really make much from rental, but they kind of have to do it because the customer who buy houses from them want them to manage for them. And it's very hard for them to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I'm a good person to come to when it comes to that. Right now, the challenge is like, one of my clients actually handles 200 rentals, and we have a very small operation, just 2 part-timers, including myself. So part of the challenge is like, there's a lot of requests from the landlord and the tenants. They are easy requests, but when you have like 100 easy requests, like how do you prioritize, right? So I started using some of the project management software for small business, like ClickUp, Asana. And recently I'm trying out Motion because that's like it's an interesting software that the AI will help you prioritize your task. So when you get a lot of overwhelming tasks, you kind of like, you know that you're not gonna get everything done. So prioritizing becomes very important. Yeah. So that's kind of what the challenge is right now. And I'm also looking to start my nonprofit this year. I have been very involved before the pandemic in Asian professional networking organization. We used to mentor a lot of students from college, from local college, but I kind of lost that connection during the pandemic because the organization was not active. So it kind of like goes away. And even though the pandemic's already over, we never built the organization back into where it is, where I can actually have a lot of mentors. So I think my goal here is to, well, this is a back office management, so I'm hoping to learn something that can help my messy operation to be more organized. And if there's any advice on what method to use to organize the office better, I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
And also I wanted to get some idea on how to host some of the professional development event for my nonprofit. So attending these type of talk and seminar always helps to give you more idea. Yeah. And if anybody have any referral for speaker that you think that would be really good on any professional topic for students or working professional, let me know. I would love the referrals.
Nice.
Awesome, thanks. Melissa.
Hi, I'm Melissa. So my business is aimed in the wellness and mental health industry. I haven't launched the business. I'm still in the early stages of planning and trying to perfect it and letting it go. But my customers, I'm trying to work with women in the Christian community who have endured through like childhood trauma. And helping them walk through that process of healing. My current business challenge, I would say, is I actually don't have a business background at all. I'm actually a professor at Cal State Dominguez Hills. I teach child development, so this is like a whole different language, a whole different ballgame for me. So as for what I would love to learn here is just everything, basics, foundations of business. So.
Nice.
All right, awesome. That's why we're here.
Very good. Nice.
Amy?
Hi everyone, my name is Amy. I work for my family's business. We own and operate a gas station in Orange County. I'm actually here with my sister today. This is Wendy. Our customers are anyone that doesn't drive a Tesla. Current business challenge, I laughed earlier when you said that because our car wash actually broke down today. So that's short-term business challenge, but long-term business challenge, I think, like a lot of businesses in the service industry and in general, right now we are still trying to find adequate, good staff to be part of our team. So I'm just excited to learn from Vince and from everyone here. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Wendy. Like she said, I am her sister. So we're in the family business. We've been in the business for 31 years. And I have been in the business for 31 years. So one of the challenges that we're experiencing now, besides the staff issue, is how to scale it beyond a point where we could step away for a moment and have everything be able to self-sufficiently run, which includes the staff as well on the premises. But having resources like a back office software that can allow us to remote monitor some of the operations of the business, I think that would be helpful. And on top of that, also just trying to figure out how to run the operations so that everything is seamless. Because despite what a lot of people think about the gas station business, it's quite hands-on. So it does require a lot of people on staff taking care of the problems at hand. So one of the things that we have to think about as in our industry, expectations for today is really just to meet other business owners or business-minded folks. In our industry, it's a little bit, I would say it's a little bit isolated. You don't find a lot of people in our industry mingling. There's not a lot of associations for our industry. So just really glad to meet everybody here, and hopefully we can kind of bounce ideas with each other. Hopefully you can learn from some of the input that I share, and likewise. So glad to be here.
Awesome, thank you.
Nice.
Round of applause. Actually, Kenny, just joined, so we're doing a quick round robin.
Okay.
Just a 1-minute pitch about your name, your role in your company, what your business is, who are your customers, and then your current business challenge right now, and then what your expectations are for the summer school series.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Kenny. I am working with Happy Buddha Kitchen. We're a Vietnamese and Chinese vegetarian food restaurant. Our customers are pretty broad based. People, a lot of them are kind of Buddhist. So they eat vegetarian for religion. Others eat it for health reasons. Some eat it for environmental reasons. So customers are mostly local people in the Temple City or Arcadia, San Gabriel Valley area. And challenge is trying to get our name out there, getting more clients, customers. And then in terms of expectations, hoping to, likewise also meet new friends and kind of talk about different things we can work on together.
Okay, great. Do you want to go last?
Sure. Hi, my name is Bonnie. I'm on the board for ABA, and I'm looking forward to talking with all of you. I'm in the family real estate business, but I, about 4 years ago, decided can't work with family anymore. I don't know how you guys are doing it. So I'm off on my own. I have a real estate team with my husband. We have a team of 6 right now, and I'm realizing I'm terrible at back office stuff. So my expectations are you're going to help me with it. My business challenge right now is we're actually growing so quickly that I can't even manage everything. Like I'm staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning just making sure for the next day everything is organized. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to, I just hired somebody to help manage operations, and I'm hoping to God he can help because I can't do it myself. And my expectations are that someone help me do it because I can't do it.
That's part of being a business owner too. You gotta know your own skills, and you gotta delegate stuff that's not your specialty,
Yeah.
and be able to focus on the things that you're great at. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for sharing. I heard a lot of, I would say, challenges around people, finding people, and also organizing these people, and a lot about middle management. So over the next hour or so, there's going to be content that's going to help you, some tools, some foundations, some theories, but it's not going to be as proprietary because it's tailored to, this content isn't tailored to every specific business. This is more conceptual. But there are tools out there that would be real estate specific, or even people in the operations and task management specific, or even just organizing your own back office as you start off. So I'll do my quick introduction. I'm a CFO, actually I'm Vince Wu. I'm a CFO at AOC Trading and Wholesale. I'm also VP of Operations at Unisoy Jerky. So that's what's taking my 8 through 8 p.m. every day. I'm a second generation family business owner. So it's me, my brother. Before this, I spent 8 years at Ernst & Young doing auditing, financial services. Then I also switched over to mergers and acquisitions. Specifically, when you merge 2 companies together, how does that actually look like? So you really tear apart that company, you tear apart the second company, and you kind of merge them. So you look at it from an IT side, you look at it from a marketing side, HR side, operations, distribution. So there's a lot of intricate details that we'll talk about in this as well. I'm also a CPA. That was my previous life, not that anymore. I'm the treasurer of ABA, so I joined the board this year. It's a new journey for me, so it's something pretty exciting. And next year, we will be celebrating our 50th anniversary year at AFC. Thanks. And we'll jump into the content. This is the agenda, and also if there's any questions along the way, feel free to just raise your hand or chime in. Just to stay relevant within that topic of conversation. Number 1, we're going to start talking about business plans. It's a foundational piece that a lot of business people overlook. And the more time you spend on these kinds of things, it really puts everything down on paper. I'm a paper kind of guy, so I just want to get all my thoughts, organize it, reorganize it, shift it, however you need, and then it's like a puzzle piece game. At least that's how I see it. The org chart is what we'll go into next, how you design your organization structure. Some of you guys have challenges about scaling your business, and you need people to scale, but how is that going to look from a hierarchical perspective or a decentralized perspective? Human resources, we're going to go into that from the whole hire to retire process. And that stems in everything from your recruiting practices, all the way through your compensation and benefits package, and then training development, performance management, and then retirement. Last piece, we'll talk about business models. And it's not going to be specifically tailored to your business, these are concepts, but this is how you analyze your business model from a current state, and then you define your future state, and you chop away at it. How do you get there, and how long it takes to get there. So any quick questions, comments, feedback to start off with? Awesome. Okay. Business plans. So I see it like a truck. And you have a business plan, you're here for a purpose, you're here for a vision, you're trying to do something, right? And you need functions. You need functions that are penetrating the market. We call those external functions. These guys are going to be at your foot soldiers that are in the field getting new business. So these functions would include sales, marketing, advertising, distribution, and field operations. These groups of people would be those guys soliciting you business for you, leads turning into customers, or calling them, cold calling them, or even just dead leads at all. But these functions are a representation of your business and your brand on the outside of your business. So the reason why it's in the front of the truck is because that's your motor, that's your driver, that's where you guys need to go. This is what's going to drive your business in X million dollars of sales per year, or how you define those targets. There's going to be internal functions. Internal functions is what those external functions win and bring back to the business. These functions are how you fulfill your orders, how you serve your customers, and how you keep your in-house nice and tidy. And they range anything from risk management to production, your supply chain life cycle, and your financing. Financing is very important so that it supports all your other, it's like your gasoline. And then purchasing and research and development. So these functions is what helps keep the motor going. And when we look at org structures a little bit later on, each of them have their own departments. And we have to analyze how deep each one of these functions need to go, or not need to go. You might not need all these functions in your business. But what you will need in any business is these support functions. These ones in the gray right here. I'm gonna use this. This one right here. So support functions. Every business, you will always need an accountant. You will always need an HR person. You will always need some IT support staff, service, and quality control. That's these compliance regulations and rules that keep everything nice and tight. So just like a truck, all these functions need to operate well and smooth for your truck to actually run. If one of these functions are crashing and burning down, well, as a business owner or somebody in management, you really have to dedicate your time there now. And then if the next week or the next month, one of these other functions has a turnover, you really got to go into this recruiting practice. So I always see it, it's a funny thing that my brother and I say, this is like a whack-a-mole business. You're whacking one mole, and then that's down, and then you gotta get to the next one. But if you have a good understanding across the board, and you set rules and practices and procedures for 1, for 2, for 3, for 4, then you kind of have a good general sense of where things could go wrong, and how much like resources you need to allocate to it. But this is, I would say this is like a general business plan and a visual perspective. So if you set one up, I would say set one up very thoroughly. We'll go into some of the details next, but revisit it. Revisit your business plan every year because it's going to change. Every 3 years because your strategic goals are going to change. You might land a contract one year and it's going to derail your entire business in a good way, but it might change the direction of where you're going. So a lot of people would set up their business plans first, but they'll also do like a set it and forget it, and then they kind of just get lost in the transition of daily business and not kind of do a self-check.
That's me.
Yeah, it happens, it happens. But every year I'd like to set like 2 to 3 days and like no meetings, no calls, and I'll just have alone time to really like, or look at the business from a very strategic high level. Like, where are we going? Where are the red, yellow, greens in this business? And it's kind of like a puzzle piece. If we're going into the details,
Question.
oh yes,
Can we get a copy of this?
absolutely. Yeah, we'll have a V or Sophia send out a copy of this.
Thank you.
And that's great because in here, there is a template example of a business plan. And it's a snapshot like this. It's not sexy, it's not good looking on a PowerPoint slide. But when you open it up, you just gotta fill it in. Because he's gonna ask you some tough questions like, hey, have you thought about marketing in 3 years? Where are you gonna get funding for 5 years? So this, when you get this PowerPoint, and you're gonna read through this business plan, there's an example completed for you already, and then the second tab is blank. So what's in here are these business drivers. And business drivers drive across multiple functions and multiple years. So something like, as an example, diversity and innovation. What does that really mean? We see that a lot more now, especially as a minority group. A lot of businesses are developing this new department that is focusing on procurement from diverse suppliers because they need to allocate more resources from a cultural perspective. There's also sales, marketing, and branding. This is, like I said, it's going to reflect your external functions. How do you want your brand, how do you want your company to be portrayed in the external perspective, in the PR side? What's the message that internally you generate that you want to train all your staff, all your marketing folks, your newsletters, your website, to have a common message? Digital IT. We talked a little about software earlier. How do we actually get your tasks in order? There's a lot of tools now. So like real estate property management, there's a lot of tasks. AI can really organize them. That's a solution. It's a tool to help you get from point A to point B. And all these business plans and all these drivers, there's different forms and templates, or even you can do it on a Word doc. But the key thing is just to get started. Because if you don't have this foundation, the next 20 slides of content is going to just look like a loose skeleton, and you don't have a spine. So always have a business plan and revisit it as frequent as you guys need. I don't want to spend too much time into the details of the business plan, but I would say hit these primary functions. Finance is going to be very key. Where are you going to get your money? Businesses are in the business of making money. If you're not making money, well, you're not in business. So that's going to be number one. Who's going to fund your startup? How are you going to get funds? What's your pitch look like? Are you going to get seed money? Or are you going to go to traditional banks? Are you working with SBA? Or you just need funds from family and friends? That's crutch number one. A lot of businesses start off with great concepts, great ideas, and they're here to solve a problem. They're here to serve a solution. The non-sexy side is always the finance and accounting side that could always break a business if you don't know where your money's going. So yeah, we'll send out this template or PowerPoint with this template inside. I think it's a great read and it's a great tool. Spend about like a dedicated period to really dive into each of these drivers. And each of these drivers will ask you, what's your goal in sales? What's your goal in marketing? What's your goal in branding? What's your goal in profitability? If you have a risk management solution, if, for example, do you have an insurance policy? If certain properties burn down, or if there's earthquake, who do we call? Workers' comp is a really big thing in California. So spend time. It'll also ask you to assign specific dates. When you put a date to something, you hold yourself accountable to that date, and you're going to feel your own pressure. So I would say this is very critical to start off with planning purposes. Org structures. say my org structure, I've shifted it a lot over the past 3 or 4 years because I wanted to change from a more decentralized business to a more organized central business. But it really depends on the company and industry you're in. Creative industries can't work in this kind of org structure. It's too rigid, it's too fixated. Creative services and industries need to work in more autonomous, more freelancing kind of work, or work styles, I would say. A centralized organization structure is what you would expect out of a big company, big box company. Hey, there's a leader on top, there's senior directors, there's managers, there's staff, there's entry-level staff as well. The great thing about these org structures is that there's a clear, constant communication from top down. You would hope. It's efficient and it's pretty scalable because you just know that, hey, who's going to be responsible for this? Who's going to be responsible for this there? Who's going to be responsible for this there? And this is assuming that because you have this kind of triangle structure, you have staff that are good at doing 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things, but they probably can't do 5, 8 things at one time. So this is great from a business perspective because if you just need an assembly line staff that just needs to put product A to product B, that's fine. Different people have different motives in their jobs. They're not there to be with the same mindset as a business owner that are working 24/7. They're there from 8 to 5 and they're ready to clock out at 5:01. But that's where you just know where their career is going to like traject, and that's completely fine. The cons about a centralized org structure is that the staff falls into an individual, or it doesn't have individual authority. They're part of a club. They're part of this department, and it's really hard to get up. And they can't move up and down too much. They can't move left and right too much. They're just there. That's a con for some people who need to have more autonomy. But for folks who really enjoy order, for folks who really enjoy structure, they won't change. They're going to be in this and they're going to love it because it's rule bounded, it's guided, it's safer. It isn't as agile or responsive, this kind of structure, because you're bound by certain policies, guidelines, and you have to seek additional improvement. So, and then I think about you guys, everybody has their own business structure. Small businesses tend to look more like this, very decentralized. 1 person on the top, and they got like 8 other employees, and everything flows to you from who's buying toilet paper today, who's buying the pens, who's getting office lunch. It all goes up to you, and it's a very decentralized position. How many of you have more of a decentralized or a centralized org structure? Centralized, raise your hand. Okay, 2, and I'm 3. So I'm guessing most folks are more decentralized? Yeah. Okay. And would you guys want to change that? Do you guys want to keep it the way it is? What are your thoughts? What are some of the challenges that you face every day from the org structure?
From centralized, we get, that's not my job.
Yeah.
That's not my job, that's not our responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the challenge is like, oh, if it's not your job, then it's somebody else's, right?
Yeah. So you go to the managers, and the managers figure out who's going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's why it's less agile, less responsive, because you're just doing 1 thing, and somebody else has got their name tagged to this task. But in a decentralized way, it's a fire drill every day. Yeah. You're whack-a-mole every day. Somebody from a decentralized, is this something that you enjoy, or do you want to move something more into a centralized?
Actually, since I'm my own employee, only person, maybe 4 days a week I'm decentralized.
Yeah.
And then Mondays I'm centralized. So it's pretty much, okay, everything's done. Pretty much that's what's happening. You know, when you have time, you become centralized, but when you're just doing everything to make money, you're in that other one. So it depends on the day of the week.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I think one challenge I have with decentralized is sometimes people have different ways of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like you have to kind of develop an SOP.
Yep.
So yeah, otherwise it's like nobody wants to follow it. Everybody think they're right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you slowly and surely you start moving to,
Yeah.
you have SOPs, training,
Yeah, I want it
guides.
to be a little more centralized.
Yeah.
For
Then the
the
question
quality control.
Exactly. How do you organize your business so that every day doesn't look like it's a random day? Do you want to make sure Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday kind of look generically the same so that you can manage your business risks? One big risk here is turnover. When you have a decentralized organization structure and somebody's gone, man, there's a lot of gaping holes there. Because that person had so many skills. That person had hands in one pot, hands in this pot, and you just don't know, documentation-wise, where this person was involved. And you're left even 3 and 4 months later scrambling for, oh, did something slip through the cracks? Did we lose a PO? Did we not even fulfill this order? So that's a risk for decentralized, but it's a lot more agile. A lot more agile because you're able to make quicker decisions left and right versus one up and down. You mentioned a little bit about SOPs, so let's move on to that. How do we go from a decentralized to a centralized? I heard earlier about middle management. We're scaling. We're scaling right now. How do we get everybody corralled? How do we rally the troops so that everyone's doing the right work at the right time and when they need to do it in the right fashion? So it actually starts from your guys' perspective. How do you look from a high level downward, but then also from the details upward, right? So if you're in a management position, you can't just think about my job, my job, my job. You also have to think about your downstream stakeholders, your employees, who's going to be impacted by somebody else's work. So in org charts, a quick benchmark, you see it's 3 to 1 over here. I think it's going to be a little bit more ineffective when you have more than 3 direct reports. If you have 4 or 5 direct reports under you, then you probably need to separate yourself from all those reports and insert somebody right under you so that you have more time to creatively and strategically think about the next stuff. Because like what she was saying, hey, how do you manage 1,000 tasks coming at you every day? Well, you need one person to take 300, another person to take 300, and then you need to separate yourself. Can you afford to have another middle management person in there so that it gives you buffer to think, hey, how do I get another gas station? In California, in Texas, where do I go? Yeah. So a rule of thumb is you don't want too many direct reports under you because they're just going to be feeding you problems left and right. And every day is not going to look the same because you're putting out employee number 1's problem, employee number 8's problem. So try to organize your structure that way so that it's more manageable on a 10-hour day, or else you'll be working 15-hour days. Set department charters. Has anybody heard about a charter? Not charter flights, but charter, like a department charter. It's basically a one-pager of what the purpose of this department is. For example, like I'm in food industry, food manufacturing. I have a quality control department. Their charter looks like, hey, I am here so that we can be compliant with all of food regulations subject to state and federal. And that includes customer audits. And then you break that down into goals. Hey, how do we achieve that goal? How do we achieve that charter? And the purpose of this department, why it's there. And then your typical resource mix. Do we need a director, a manager, and 2 staff? Or is this all just entry-level kind of work? This kind of outlines each department. It's almost like a boilerplate sheet, but it helps organize your thoughts in a certain way where each department has a purpose. In smaller businesses, you might just need to find somebody who's very skillful and just has general experience in that industry. And that person can just handle 8 different things. But if you really want to get organized and rule-bound things, then you need to start thinking about roles and responsibilities. This typically stems from job descriptions. It's your most everyday kind of a tool. You need job descriptions to get people hired. But these roles and responsibilities are very important. They don't need to be shared across your team, but you need to organize them. And one of the tools that I've used is called a RACI matrix. Has anybody heard of a RACI matrix before? No. Okay. Well, great. This will be a great tool. This is an organization tool, and we'll go into the next slide. But I just want to bring it up a little here. It's a roles and responsibilities tool where it assigns people general tasks and duties. It could be milestones, it could be projects, it could be systems. So these are more of your high-level conceptual thoughts when it comes to organization tools. When you dive deep, or dive a little deeper, it's about work activities. Who's at a restaurant level? Who's washing the dishes? Who's checking in the inventory? Who's taking temperature on the meat? Somebody's got to do that. And then assign those ownership projects and relationships too. Who's managing the actual distributor? Like who's cutting the POs? So that when you define these work activities, you really start assigning names to a work activity. But you have to know the work activity first, from A through Z. Another tool is process flow charts. I didn't include a process flow chart example in here, but it's basically just a swim lane of processes, and it goes up and down depending on who's responsible of that process. KPIs, key performance indicators. How do you know when your business is booming versus how do you know when it's in trouble? What metrics are you using to measure the effectiveness of your business? For me, I go by units sold. So we sell tofu units, little 19-ounce packs. If we're under a certain number for a month, something's up. Something maybe it's our pricing, or maybe it's one of our competitors' pricing. They were on promotion, and some of our competitors jumped from our customer base to their customer base. Something's up in the industry. Maybe for another metric for you guys, it might be sales, just top line sales, or for maybe your industry, Tony, like how many I guess service projects, or what types of service projects are you? Construction, or is it asbestos type? Are you guys focusing on asbestos? You know, does that tie to your goals? So defining a key performance indicator, and it could be very high level. It doesn't need to be so granular, or how many influencers, or how many like signups, and how do you get your platform out there, and how many impressions you get. And then when you go deeper, this is what she was talking about earlier, SOPs. How do you rally the troops doing that same job without variation? You have to train them. You have to train them on what to say, what systems to use, what buttons to click. We're all human, right? We're all going to make mistakes. It's variable. But some of these details and some of these tools include SOPs, job aids, templates, checklists, and systems. We're in an age right now where AI is a very helpful friend. We're in the frontier of it, and there's tools being developed left and right every day. What that means for you guys is you guys have to learn these tools. But you have to learn it quick and turn around and deploy it quicker, so you keep that momentum going. So you see that there's a lot of stuff that's high level and low level. I don't want to say low level, but more detailed, more transactional, very granular. I'll pause here. Any questions, comments, or concerns so far?
Question.
Yeah.
If you're like the person that you said that do 8 different things in a company, how do you know like when you're actually spreading yourself too thin, that you're supposed to have a little management or to come in to help you?
Yeah.
Guidance.
If you're spending too much time in the business and you're not spending enough time on the business, then you have then you just trigger yourself that, hey, I'm spending too much time doing these
Like
tedious
doing
things.
repetitive tests or.
Yeah. If your goal is to get multiple locations or multiple property managers, and you want to go out out of state or you wanna go elsewhere, that's the goal. You can't be calling like contractors to do plumbing repairs every single day. If the goal is to get 20 more apartment complexes in Florida, 10 more in New York City. So if your time allocation on your 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., if it's too much of the transactional, you gotta get somebody else to do it. The great thing now is virtual assistants. Has anybody used virtual assistants before? 1, 2, 3. Virtual assistants. They're great, but they're great at doing repetitive things because they're going to be working while you're sleeping. So by the time you wake up, you got like 2 hours of work to review already. But that's the great thing because they just spent 8 hours doing some work that you didn't need to do. But quality, you gotta check the quality. Virtual assistants from a cost standpoint is pretty affordable, I would say. But you also need to train them on what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So that leads back to here, SOPs, job aids, right?
I have a question. What is job aids? What do you mean by job aids?
It could be like training manuals for certain software, or it could be YouTube videos. Like when I train somebody, I actually have I'll open to I have a roadmap, a 1-year roadmap for that person, that specific role. Hey, this is what you're going to do for the next 12 months at a high level. One level lower is, hey, within this software, watch this YouTube video. Watch this 20-minute YouTube video. Within that software, watch this other video. Or and then you could read like I develop like SOPs as well. Just anything that helps them complete their job. Yeah.
Where do you get the virtual assistant?
Yeah, it also depends on what services you need. Is it just basic administrative things, or is it more financial related, or is it more creative, like design work or newsletter drafting? You can find them online. There's a lot of companies now that you can just search up, and we will talk to one of these like account managers or so. They'll interview you, what your business needs are. There's VA platforms, VA companies specifically for services and for certain companies. Some of them do accounting for you too, but I don't personally like that just because I don't want my numbers to be flown out left and right. So keep your data and your information kind of close to your chest too.
There's also virtual assistants geared towards specific industries. So like for real estate, there's one that's based in Vietnam and the Philippines that specifically are geared towards real estate agents to help run their marketing, run like ads and like their a lot of the like office stuff too. So if you look up, just like you use Google virtual assistant for your industry, you should be able to find a company that actually helps train them too. And like dollar amount, like I paid my virtual assistant I think $4 an hour for a full 8 hours every day. And it was like she was very grateful for the job.
No.
Yeah.
Is that a contract? You need to have a contract for 1 year.
No, I don't use her anymore just because I use it in person. But when I did have her, it was not contracted at all. Like it was like by the month. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a virtual assistant who does sales calls for me. So this person does cold calling, and it's $13 an hour or like $12 an hour.
Where are they based out of?
Ecuador.
Oh.
So they're on East Coast time, 3 hours ahead. But they're working my hours, like Pacific LA time. And this is somebody who does not need to be physically on site. I trained him up for maybe 3-4 days with the materials I already had, deployed it. I don't really talk to him anymore, but he just sends in orders now. He's in the East Ecuador using Google Voice, calling like customers in like Florida, calling customers in like Texas, in up and down California. So as much as you can outsource these, I used to do calls myself, and it was painful. But some jobs got to get done, business has got to run. So you got to find sources to help you do these transactions, do this kind of repetitive work. So going into the RACI matrix, glad you guys haven't heard of it, which is not glad, but glad that I can help you teach you. A racing matrix is a tool that assigns responsibility describing employees' roles to complete tasks, deliverables, and projects. There's an example, and we'll actually go through one in the next slide as an exercise. But R stands for responsible. It's the person who is responsible for completing that task. You put one name to it. So for example, who's checking the temperatures in the coolers? You got Joe. Joe's got his name written all over it. Or who's responsible for throwing out the trash at the end of the day? It could be Mike. One person in project management 101, you got to assign one person's name. A stands for accountability or accountable. Also, one person's name. If Joe doesn't take out the trash, well, who's the second up? Who's doing that after? But this accountable person is the one who's steering and delegating the tasks to Joe, Mary, Mike, Jane. This is more of your senior or one of your manager roles. Consulted, C. Who do you need to get information from? Or who does R need to get information from so that they can carry out their task and complete it effectively? And you could assign multiple people. I need to consult with X, I need to consult with Y, I need to consult with Z. I is informed. After R completes X, Y, Z, this person needs to be informed because this will impact their department, their function, their business. If stuff is being done and the right parties aren't being informed, there's a hole there. There's a bottleneck. Something's falling, slipping through the cracks. And you can inform as many people as you can. You don't even inform the whole world. I would say in the world of business that I've learned, less is more. You don't want to overshare because there's too much gossip. There's too much water cooler talk. You need to give the information to whoever needs it, and not more. So it looks a little like this. Here's two examples. Here's the very cutesy, colorful one, spring colors. Here's a little bit more cut and dry one. But on the left is your roles and responsibilities, your tasks, your milestones, your projects. So just open an Excel spreadsheet or just make a list of what needs to be done. Hopefully you're organizing it by sales function, maybe marketing function, maybe like HR function. And then on the right should be people's roles or people's names. And then you just kind of plug and play. Who's responsible for creating a site map? Well, it looks like the strategist is the one designing the themes of that site map. And then the accountable person is the designer, who's going to not only be designing that site map, but also responsible or accountable for other projects, because this looks like more of a brand playbook. And then you gotta keep X, Y, Z informed. Because if you're a strategist and you're a designer of this website, well, the backend guys need to know how to code that stuff too. So for every row, you just want to assign one R, one A, and a couple C's and a couple I's. I've done this for my own companies. Where I've grouped it by function: HR, hire to retire, and then I've done sales, which is going to be order to fulfillment, and production and quality control. So list out as many steps as you can in sequential order, and you'll see it cascade down like a beautiful waterfall. So this is a tool that's actually pretty versatile. It could be used on a project, maybe a 3-month project or a 6-month project. It could be used as your entire business org structure. It's great for internal alignment. It's kind of hard to really walk through and digest, but it's good for you guys as managers or even business owners to really lay out like, all right, who's doing what. And you might want to have a little one-on-one workshop with, or maybe a small group workshop with them, and say, hey, this is how I see the business. These are going to be your new roles. It's going to align to your job description, or it may not. If not, we'll tinker the job description. And this actually involves all parties. This gets everybody internally in line. And I've held like meetings with my staff across all different functions saying, hey, these are your responsibilities now. Ours. And then I send it to all their emails. And, it's their job to carry it out now. Hopefully they do, but it's all a lot of reinforcing, but now they understand your vision. They understand where you're trying to go. And if they're not following your vision, well, there's a thing called disciplinary action. Tips, don't over-detail tasks. You can see these are one-liners. This is even higher level. There's a fine line. You don't want to go too crazy and get like a 50-character line item, or you don't want to be as like bland and ambiguous and vague as create website. And that's not helpful. You gotta be like, all right, create the landing page and the about us page, or you want to get a little more medium, I would say, so that people understand the ambiguity. And like I mentioned earlier, don't set it and forget it. Utilize it. Refresh it every 1 year. Refresh it every year and a half. Your business org is going to change. If you introduce a new team member, well, you got to insert another column now. You got to assign R's, A's, C's, and I's, and then you got to refresh this. People are very dynamic. Humans are very dynamic, so you got to keep their brains constantly involved. And if they aren't involved, then they're going to stray away, because they're going to just go into their own little world, and they're going to lose sight of your vision. All right. Any questions so far? It's a great tool. There's different ways of going about it, but the simplest thing is just define all your tasks, define all your users or your staff, just start plugging away.
Question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned about the disciplined employees.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an employee who is like really into their own world for a long time and is very resistant to changes,
Mm-hmm.
how would you discipline this person?
Yeah, that would be part of retiring that person. Disciplinary actions. People are hard to change. People are very hard to change. I've had employees there for 15, 18 years, and they've been doing the same thing for that 15, 18 years. But if you introduce them new tricks or tools, you gotta slowly do it. If this employee is valuable, if this employee is needed for this job, then you just have to bear the patience or the pain struggles with that employee. But if they're not, then you just gotta train. Hey, we've trained you once, you're still doing it wrong. Trained you twice, you're doing it wrong. Document that. Document it, because your next step is going to be write-ups, it's going to be suspensions, it's going to be termination. You can't terminate if you don't have a cause. People are locally employed in California, but it's California. It's a lot of all west out here. So you got to document everything. If they're unwilling to change, you just have really heart-to-heart conversations. Hey, this is where we're going. This is the new system we're going to be implementing. You've got user access rights to A, B, and C. You got to get this accounts receivable posted because you already received the cash by every Wednesday, because your job impacts somebody else. And if they can't do their job, that means the third person can't do their job. So you kind of frame the conversation in the sense that, hey, you're really impacting 3 other people, just not you. You would guilt trip them a little bit, so you can play them those kinds of angles, or you could just be cold-hearted and just say, hey, if you're not following directions, we gotta let you go. There's always a soft and hard way to go about every position. All right, this is a hire to retire process. So you'll see these little chevrons from left to right. When you see it's going to be orange gold, it's that type of content discussion. So we'll go through the hiring side of the HR side. We'll talk a little bit about comps and benefits. How do you onboard somebody? When you onboard somebody, how do you keep them trained and developed, and how to what you need done? Performance management, and then lastly, retirement, termination, succession planning, or just like termination. Who here has hired somebody in the past month? 2 months? 1, 2, 3. 3 months? 4, 5. Okay. It's tough. Good help is hard to find, and when you find it, keep it. One slide I'll talk a little bit about later is it's so much more painful to lose somebody and cover those gaps again than just to pay them a little bit more. It's a 3 to 5 month recovery period, and you're in that hole for like 3 months because you're going to be doing this recruiting, you're going to be interviewing, hiring, and then you're going to do training and development. So that's a 3 to 5 month process. So if folks haven't hired before, these are some of the ways, methods. Referrals is always good, just because there's always a trusted back or a trusted source, but gotta be a little careful, because for everybody who enters, there's always gonna be somebody who's exiting. And people who exit typically have a bad taste of something. So I would always caution that. Family members too. Family members might have cousins, like daughters, sons, in the family business. And that's a whole nother session I could go about. But family members are always involved with business. It's always going to be a little challenging. I think Bonnie had some experiences, vocally, opinions about it. But yeah, job sites, college career centers, newspapers, magazines, like just old school stuff too, like bulletin postings. I've gotten some employees from posting job ads at grocery stores because we're in the grocery industry. So it makes sense for us. So, but find what makes sense for you guys. If you guys are digital, you guys don't need people to be in your office in LA. You can find it somewhere in New York. Referrals, I mentioned earlier. Know the personalities too, because if you have a hot shot coming in, and if they've got so much experience, they're going to really disrupt a very mutual and peaceful workplace. I've had that happen. And it's not good for the rest of your employees, your staff, who are very mutual. And someone's coming in with like big boasting kind of personality, it's kind of a little disruptive to the workplace. So even though they might have the skills and experience, don't overlook how much it'll impact your other staff. Another thing I've used recently is recruiting agencies. When you need Band-Aid approach solutions, because you need to fill like 5 roles for an assembly line, you just need staff quick. You just need hands and more bodies to move product from here, left and right. Very easy stuff, but they do cost because it's a temporary solution. So I've seen those fees usually around 25 to 30% on top of their current hourly rate. But it also covers like workers' comp. It also covers like your recruiting time or your HR's recruiting time, because they'll just send you like resumes like today, and then it's like if you approve, it'll come on the day after. So you just need quick hands and bodies. For a full placement, though, it's a different story. Recruiting agencies charge differently between temp hires, temp staff, and full-time placement. It's 15 to 20% of their annual salary. So I would say, I don't know what the average median salary here in LA is called like 60 to 75 grand. Can you afford 12 grand just to get this person placed? But you need it quick. There's also a 90-day guarantee. So if you pay this 12 grand to this agency, you have a 90-day probation period without losing that 12 grand. And then if you don't like this person, you just kick them out, and then tell the recruiting agency, hey, we've got to start over. But you don't lose the 12 grand. So it's just like a probation period.
You need to pay them the benefit, like health insurance, you don't need to. You will save a
The
little money.
recruiting agency sometimes will cover those
Yeah.
for like temps, but for, if you have a new hire, like if they're doing full-time, you cover it.
Yeah, that'll be into your HR
But
process.
10, you don't need to.
Yeah, 10.
So still save some money.
But the hourly for temps are usually really high.
Higher.
Yeah, because you pay
Yeah,
52% on top of the hourly to the recruiting agency.
We do that for our organization. Actually, every employee that comes through, we put them through an agency.
Oh, first.
Yeah, because we feel like the first 90 days, you show your true colors, and then that gives us, you know, a chance to see how they work and vice versa. So they go through an agency first, and then we pick them. Sometimes 6 months before we pick them. It's a long screening process.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And then you have less liability too, because they're technically employed by the agency instead of your company first.
I mean, you still have some liability, right? But it's just a little bit of an arm distance to the beginning.
Before you hire any folks, Google the person. You don't know how much you'll find about the person. You'll see lawsuits. You'll see workers' comp claims. You'll see a lot of stuff you don't want to see.
Just don't admit that you Google them.
Yep.
Why?
Oh, because they can say you prejudge discrimination, you saw
Oh.
the color of their skin,
Oh.
everything.
Or maybe they have the same name. You put the
Exactly.
wrong person.
Yeah, in this state, you just gotta be really careful with what you say or even inquire during the interview process. Because anything can be swung with so many different interpretations. So Google the person, but just don't do it privately. Do it on a incognito mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I've seen some not so pleasant sights about the previous employers, and so I just chose not to take on the business risk of hiring something.
Yeah.
Hey,
Come in.
come on in. Come on in. We're just doing a little hiring session right now. You want to grab your name tag or anything?
He hasn't registered yet.
Oh, got it. Well, feel free to grab some dinner in the back if you like.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
I'll just sit down.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry for being late.
All good, all good. Hiring now. So as an employer, as a manager, what kind of skills are you looking for? Are you looking for just cookie cutter everyday kind of things? Do they have the right experience for you that fits your goals? Call those referrals. Call them. They're always up to you like to get referrals. But look for the long-standing ones, like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You'll find a lot about them. And so look for those job skills. Language is important for us because we're Asian, and if we have Cantonese, Mandarin, Vietnamese speakers, you might need that. Certifications, you do not know how many people lie about their certifications. So go on the California state boards, check if their license is active. Just Google it, just spend 5 minutes, and if it's false, you kind of already know what that person is. Is this somebody we really want to hire? I always like to put simulated tests in their hiring or interviewing process. It's a basic math tests. Can you do arithmetic? Can you do hey, there's 18 cookies in a jar and you minus 5 of them, what does that mean? Simple stuff. Or typing tests. Typing tests. Can they type? Or did somebody make up and mock up their resume for them? I've hired some folks where I thought they could type, and then when I hired them and I looked at how they typed, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a long training process. And it hurts. It hurts. So put those, just get a laptop, say, hey, do a typing test. And they'll tell you how many words per minute they type. And you can do it yourself too to know where you sit in your ranking. It's almost like a game. But typing tests, math and behavior, it shows you how digitally adept the candidate is. Some other non-technical things you need to assess are
Question here.
oh, yes.
I wonder with the people you hire from the agency, are they kind of more pre-screened and better quality in general? Or would you say?
I would say they're pre-screened.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say they're better quality.
Oh.
But also quality is defined in the eyes of the beholder. But they do have a pre-screen process already because they've been interviewed through that agency, and if they've worked at that agency for 5 years, they've worked with certain other clients, and then they also have like progress reports and performance reports going back to the agency. So you might get your hands on those too. Performance report from Joe.
I worked for a recruiting agency before, and like internally what they do is they say you are looking for somebody who has property management experience, then they may be higher priced than an entry-level person, but then the agency will only send you things like if you need certain skills, it may cost a little bit more for that skill set, but they'll only send you people with those skill sets. So that's how they screen for you specifically. And they, like the recruiters, what they do all day is all they do is recruit people, and then they match it to the job description. So that's why you would hire an agency. They're very like specific on that type of hiring.
One of the things I always like to assess is their ability to articulate. Can they actually answer the question that you ask? Or are they just going to ramble for 10 minutes? Which shows the organization of thought. What happens in the brain comes out of the mouth in a concise package. Can that be done? Some people just forget the question. Because they're like 5 minutes into the conversation and they're already like, oh, what was the question? That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. Maybe they're nervous, you give them the benefit of the doubt, but they're also showing they're supposed to be on their best performance at the time. So it's like, hey, you can't answer the question. Non-verbals during the interview, how do they sit up? Are they like approachable? Are they leaning forward? Are they engaged in the conversation? Are they sitting back chilling and like not even looking? That's a very, very telltale sign too. Personality quizzes, this might be a little too intense, I would say. If you want to give them a Myers-Briggs test or an Enneagram test, it really tells you like who they are inside. It's probably a little bit of a lengthier process or a quiz, but it does pay dividends. I also like to check their shoes.
Yeah.
What kind of shoes are they wearing? Is it polished or is it like raggedy? Do they have holes in their shoes? Is it fitting for the job that they're being interviewed for? So it's a small little nuances here. This is a laundry list of stuff that you need to consider when hiring. On the left is what you want: job experience, skills, licenses. Are they exempt or non-exempt? Are they a quick learner? Are they trainable? Or are they stubborn, hard-headed, can't absorb new information? But what you're looking for is really trust. At the end of the day, can you trust this person to do the job that you don't have to always micromanage this person? But as also a business owner, there's all these things you gotta be competitive with too. There's compensation, that's probably like 80% of the worries. Can you guys afford it? Can we afford it? Can we afford it? Pay type. I've had some growing pains from this. Salary does not mean exempt versus non-exempt. And that's a little bit of a nuance. Salary just means, hey, you're getting a fixed pay for a fixed period, no matter what you do. Non-exempt means there's California regulations of certain hours per day, and over triggering that computes overtime. So there's very nuanced definitions, and I could go into that later. I don't want to go into this now, but I would say the easiest way is just keep it all hourly. Everybody just hourly. It's simple math. When you get into salary and or commissions, there's a lot more interpretation. You got to compete with group insurance. It's a standard, it's a standard benefit now, but you got to compete with it. And do you sponsor it fully for your employees, or do you sponsor it like 20%, 15%? And what plans do you have to choose from your insurance providers? How rich of a plan? Is it gonna be HMO, PPO, what's the deductible? There's gonna be a whole slew of things, just a whole slew of plans, but as a business owner, you have to start thinking about, okay, like what can we afford to attract the right talent? I would say up until like 5-6 years ago, like my company didn't have it. But because we felt the pressure during COVID, which was a lot of turnover, it forced us to sponsor group insurance. Same thing with retirement plans. It was a California mandate to start having these, I forget how many years ago, like for retirement plans, 401ks.
It progressive, so depends on the employees.
Yeah, yeah.
7 years?
Mm.
Yeah, about it.
Yeah, it's like, if it's less than like 5 or something.
Yeah, less than 5 start last year.
Yeah. So retirement plans, you gotta sponsor one too, whether it's your own 401k matching, or if you go through the state funded. It just really helps from your perspective to offer these kinds of things. They don't have to do it if they don't want to, but from a marketing side, you're trying to market your business so that people can come into your business and do your business. Continuing education, I really love this one. I implemented a policy like a couple years ago in my company, say, hey, we will pay for your education, but you gotta stay back, like at least another year, or at least like 6 months. If it's a bigger tuition cost, then the longer duration. And I put a clause in there, hey, if you leave after, if we pay for your education and you leave after 3 months, you claw back that from your final pay, from your final paycheck. So it's a great incentive for people who are actually like education hungry, people who really like to learn, but you also got to make sure it's relevant for your business. They can learn about coding and you're in like mining. That doesn't make sense. So you're not going to sponsor that, but it's got to be relevant for your business, or even their job function. If they're an accountant and they want to learn more about like certain softwares, or they want to learn like transactional accounting, they can. So give that to them because it's only a couple grand. A couple grand is going to pay you a long way to keep them happy, or even get them certain certificates and licenses, which actually adds more benefit to your business at the end of the day. Remote work, I'm very against it as a human, very, very against it. There's a natural tendency people are going to slack off, and it happens. People will do laundry in the middle of the day, completely fine. But do you trust them? If they're going to do laundry at 2 p.m., they're going to be available at 9 p.m. for the hours that they missed. So I'm in manufacturing. We work with machines. We work with them all, like raw ingredients and materials. So I'm used to like people on site. But if it's digital world, if it's a digital business, completely fine. Completely fine. Other things include fringe benefits, travel, mileage, cell phone, small ancillary things to keep the job and keep the business running. Salesmen are always going to want their phones comped, or their mileage comped, or their travel comped. Something I don't think we are in too much is investment options. These are stock options for your company. If you want to offer shares or ownership or equity of the business, you could offer it to like the very executive folks who are geared more to the strategic direction of your business, but I wouldn't say you need to give these to your staff or your second years or 5 years. I would say this is more manager or above. So now that you've got a comp package, you've got a benefits package, how do you get somebody on board after hiring them? This is called onboarding. It's onboarding and orientation. You gotta make a good impression. You gotta check your own shoes if you're checking other people's shoes, right? So make them feel warm, make them feel welcome, and introduce them to everybody there, because you don't want to have an unfamiliar face. At least just say hi and bye. Hey, my name is, this is X, Y, and Z. I'm the new marketing staff. Build those communication bridges, and I always delegate this to my staff or my HR staff, but build those team events. Just lunch on the second Friday and for the office, just to get people like involved. Hey, how you doing? Da 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 da. How's your weekend? Any weekend plans? Stuff like that. It really opens up communication. rather than just being so black and white, transactional, when they walk up to you and say, hey, why is this report done? So open up those personal sides of the conversation. After you make an impression of your own business on the new employee, induct them into what you want them to do. I mentioned earlier, I provide them a 1-year roadmap. It looks like the racing that I give them, but I actually sequence them out by January, February, March. I just put a little X for each task. Your expectation by May is to have all these projects done. Your expectation by September that you're going to be trained up, you're going to have this and that. So provide a 1-year roadmap, because I think if you don't do that, you could get yourself derailed from your own business. And that person's going to be left pretty plateauing in their career trajectory. They're gonna start off with a big bang, and then they're gonna kind of just plateau. You don't want that. You want them to keep going and escalating up. So this really helps align them with their work, your work expectations of them, and then integrate them with the business. You know, I always have a roster with everybody's name, their top 3 priorities and functions, their email addresses, and I print that out and give this roster to this person upon day 1. It really helps them be able to communicate to anybody. Consider all tools needed for the job. So physical tools, yes, whatever physical tools they need, they might hammers, whatever. Digital tools, messaging software. We use Slack as in our business. You use WeChat, you use WhatsApp, whatever it is, but get them connected to all of your tools. User applications, softwares, so that you, as a small business owner, don't have to do it post-onboarding. Get it done pre-onboarding, then now they don't have to ask you questions. Oh, I didn't get access to this tool, I can't do this job. Oh, I've been sitting here with you 2 days. What the hell did you do in 2 days? So get it off your plate as much as possible so they can do their job. If they can't do their job, then they didn't ask the right questions. Set it up ahead of time. We talked about job aids a little bit, SOPs, manuals, training videos. I love to just package it, bundle it like a Christmas gift and say, here, read this for the next 5 days. Come to me with any questions. If you read it, you should be able to do your job by week 2. So package it nicely so that you're not scrambling asking questions or answering questions every day. And reduce your training time by preparing beforehand. So now that they're fully immersed, like your goal is to get them in and get them cyclical in your business. You don't want to be handholding them like a kid, right? Like, hey, how do I go to the restroom? No, just go out the door, right? But you want to give them all the tools, all the passwords that they need, all the softwares, all the access doors, the relationships with the customers and vendors. Get them in that person's hand beforehand. And your hope is this last one right here, independence.
Yes.
You free up your time.
Yes.
Because time is the most, other than health, time is the most valuable commodity in our lives. And you can't get that back. If you're spending too much time, like you said, in these tasks and weeds, you can't focus on the business. You're focusing too much in the business. And then deploy it. Once you have all this packaged up nicely with a bow on top, this is the package for that new employee on day 1. And they know how to be self-sufficient for the next 5 days. Your expectation is by week 2, by week 3, they should be readily deployable. I put this last bullet point here, if you can see, key, sign off on all onboarding documents. Why is that? If you choose to terminate an employee because they don't have the right training, and you in actuality train them, hey, I wasn't known of these policies. I wasn't given this information, aka now it's called wrongful termination. There's wrongful termination cases left and right. That's why lawyers are so rich. So sign off on every onboarding document, every training document, every policy, mileage policy, comp benefit, 401k. Yes, we disclose that there is a 401k option for you. You are not being discriminated against. Those are very important. Any questions? Any thoughts? It's a scary place to be an employer in California, but you just gotta make sure that you protect yourself too. This is where I like to focus like parts of my time on the business, is really training people. I don't have kids, but I would say all my staff, all my employees are kind of like my kids. How do I enrich them so that they can do their job proficiently, effectively, and efficiently? It starts with onboarding. We just had a slide on that. It then goes to company policies after onboarding. Do you have all the company policies in place so that you are, one, a formidable workplace, two, an equal opportunity employer that has harassment training, that has all the California regulations in place so that you are a formidable employer. Meal and rest breaks, that's very important too. People, if you're like 1 minute too short on a meal, that's a ding.
Mm-hmm.
They take 29 minutes, that's a ding on you. And that could be potentially a loss down the road.
Mm-hmm.
If you, reimbursable expenses, such as mileage, cell phone, if it's necessary, the keyword is necessary. Who defines necessary? Actually, the IRS does. The IRS defines the word necessary, because if it impedes the person's job or it impedes the progress of the person's job, and you don't sponsor that necessary expense, well, that's a lawsuit on you. So an example of that is, if you don't sponsor the person's cell phone and they're on the road all day, it's necessary for them to use a cell phone because they're not using your phone landline in the office to do their job. They can say, hey, Vince, you need to pay for my cell phone bills for the past year. And I'm going to say no, and then this person's going to say, here's the law, boom, then I got to fuck it up.
I want to add to that because I manage a construction management firm for the longest time. A lot of the people that you send out there, inspectors, engineers, did not want to have a second phone. I told them that there's always construction pictures that they have to take. If the phone gets a peanut, their whole phone is going to go to that.
Mm.
And there's always a lawsuits in construction.
Yeah.
And whatever secrets you have there, it's gone. So from then on, everybody took the phone that I gave them.
Yeah.
Because good luck with that.
Yeah. So just think, and you're going to have to think about these budgeting. Like, can I afford cell phone expenses? You don't have to pay the full cell phone, at least a portion of it. $5, $20 a month, whatever it might be. Code of conduct. You mentioned disciplinary action earlier. Hey, we had you sign upon onboarding the code of conduct, how you need to behave while at this company. You can't be smoking, you can't be drinking, you can't be high on the job, or you can't be insubordinating. That's going to be subject to write-up. And then you slowly, after you're at the company level, you start deploying them to the department trainings. So this is going to be more specific for that department. Production trainings, food safety trainings, marketing and design, Canva, software trainings, Photoshop trainings, whatever you need for that specific department. Every department is going to need their own trainings. You might want to consider external stuff, external resources. It could be consulting firms, it could be agencies. Like I mentioned earlier, continuing education. Some of my staff are taking classes here actually, just because I said, hey, you have an opportunity to learn more about food science, you have an opportunity to learn more about HR and regulations. There's some classes at ELAC. You do it at night, I'll sponsor it. Just stay here for another 6 months.
Nice.
And then cultural. At my company, I have this like 24x36 poster called Daily Habits. It's 5 bullet points. It's teamwork, communication, improvement, growth, and helpfulness. So that's postered everywhere in English, Spanish, and Chinese. And actually, if you see it enough, like it actually just bleeds into and tattoos into somebody's brain. The more they see it, the more they're gonna remember. I think in the advertising world, it takes like 7 times or something for somebody to see it and actually remember it. So the more that people see these kinds of cultural beliefs in your workplace and what you want to preach, the more they're gonna follow and buy into your vision. Internal marketing. You might have some bustling news. You might have town hall meetings that you might want to call every like quarter. If there's a new customer, people are going to know. People might want to know because your staff who sits at the bottom of the totem pole, they want to feel excited. They want to be integral in this business. They want to get fed information. Oh man, my company is doing X, Y, and Z. This is great. They're involved in the community this way. It makes them feel a little bit more involved. So newsletters, posters, cultural events. We're multicultural, so I've learned a lot about the Hispanic culture in the past years. We have Vietnamese speakers too. But yeah, this is more training and development. This is a diagram. I don't know if you guys have seen this before. It's about learning. If you're a professor, have you seen this before?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is a Bloom's taxonomy of learning. Where do your employees sit? Where are they in the performance management of where you want them to be? Are they okay just remembering to do X, Y, and Z tasks like an assembly line worker? Completely fine. Or do you need them to create new business opportunities? So these are the verbs you want to use when describing their actions or their tasks, or even these verbs can be used on the job description. Very rudimentary, elementary items over here. You go from remembering to understanding. After you understand, you start applying, you start getting creative, and that's where you really get to a business development role or a business owner role up here. When we get into performance management, you set goals. You set SMART goals. You can't just set rudimentary and ambiguous goals. What is SMART? It's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant to their business or their job function, and it's time bound. You can't just say, hey, Tony, get me some new business. Who, what, where, how, and when, and how many? So you gotta be SMART, and they have to understand your goals too. So you put these goals, and you develop them, you communicate with them. And these are KPIs too, but you can also expand them department-wide, or you can also expand this company-wide too. And I'm a little short on time, but I'll speed through the next 5 or 6 slides. Evaluation frequencies. And this is something I'm always challenged with too. I came from a very rigorous background of corporate consultants, grind all day. We had performance evaluation every 6 months.
Ooh.
What that did to me was just stress me the hell out. But I like that kind of stuff. It's weird. But I enjoy it. But it does put a lot of scrutiny on your employees. Yes. Because you're in growth mode. And if they can't keep up, it's an up or out approach. And in a small family business, you can't implement that because you need stability. You can't have turnover. And when your turnover is high, your business managers or even yourself, you got to fill in those gaps for that 3 to 5 month period. So then, now I'm leaning to more less evaluations. Well, how less? Is once a year good? Are they plateauing in that progression during that year? Or do you still need them to still traject up? So the good thing about less evaluations is it's stable, but it can lead to stagnation for that employee. They're just gonna cruise, they're gonna chill. There's lower growth opportunity and there's potential loss of interest in that job. They're just gonna be clocking in, clocking out, collecting a paycheck, and just doing that same thing. They're not gonna be growing unless you put more scrutiny with them. So as a business owner or like an employee manager, how do you set these frequencies? And it's up to your business. The biggest thing is turnover. And As a small business, you don't want turnover. So when you scale up enough to have at least cross-trained employees, then you could be a little bit more scrutinized against your employees. Performance measurements. So tie these goals, these SMART goals, these KPIs back to, from the task level to the department level. That department charter I was talking to you guys about, it's got to tie that. Because that department charter is going to tie to your overall business plan. You see it's how it's all like cyclical. From the bottoms up and the top down. Bonus and commission structures, it's going to be department specific. It could be, for us, it's going to be in the production department, food production, no injuries. No injuries. Or another goal is no product recalls. In the sales department is X dollars per month. And then in, yeah, those are the big ones for us. But you gotta set those based on the department and what you guys wanna see out of that department. Where are your employees? Where are they? Are they a star performer where they have high performance and high potential? Or are they just a complaining guy who's just disgruntled to come to work every day and they're not producing much and they're not really desiring to be here? So place a map, put a post-it. Where are they? And then define where they want to be. Are they a standard core team member? They're great, they're not going to grow your business X-fold, but they're there to do the job and they're a great role player. And we need those. You can't not everybody's going to be a star performer. This is the tool I use every time I have performance reviews. I always ask myself, where is this guy or gal, and where do I think they can be? And I put this slogan up here, at the end of the day, it's always going to be about skill versus skill. If you don't have the skill, are you willing to work for that skill, learn that skill, get that skill? Or are they not willing to do it? Another tool or theory is Birch's 4 stages of competence. Everybody starts off, you just don't know what you don't know. Like what you said over here, what are your expectations? I just want to learn more. You just want to see what's out there. You just don't know. Who knows what's in the outer space, right? You just don't know what's out there. But now that you know that there's a universe in the outer space, you know there's planets, you know there's galaxies out here. But now, once you learn that there's more galaxies and solar systems, you learn about rocks and materials. You become a little bit more conscious about what you're learning and digest it. You're becoming more competent in the skills that you learn. And sooner or later, this is just going to be habitual, unconscious competence. It's reactionary too. It's going to be night and day once you put yourself in this process of learning. So also for your staff, are they able to be unconsciously competent at their work and how fast? AKA, are they quick learners? Succession planning, the last piece of their career is going to be, or retirement too. Succession also means termination, retirement. You can sell off your business. From a business standpoint, from your guys' perspective, this is where you might be. You might be joint venturing, you might be selling off your business, you might be merging, or you might be continuing your legacy. From an employee standpoint, there's going to be termination, retirement, or just going back to training, one or the other. But as a business owner, sometimes it's taboo to talk about retirement with certain people because it's Asian culture that it's not fun to talk about these kinds of things. Especially, I just started having my succession planning started with my parents not too long ago, actually last year. That was a train wreck. It was hard. It was hard to have these. What's that?
That's what I'm right now too.
It's hard to have these conversations because one, traditionalists, they have a traditionalist mindset. They don't want, it's taboo to talk about death. It's taboo to talk about money. You can't talk about these sensitive topics, but as a business owner, you have to start talking about these early, because when it's too late, it's too late. And you're left scrambling up the pieces, and you're in probate, which is the worst place to be. And you don't want Uncle Sam in your cookie jar. That's the way I pitched to my parents. I was saying, hey, you don't want Uncle Sam in your cookie jar. You want to keep your 25-30%. Or at least you want to give it to me, one or the other. But having conversations early, and that's from the business level, enterprise level, with your business partners, your family, but from an employee-employer relationship level, they're not working out for you. You gotta terminate them early. Start having those performance talks. Where are you in your performance management life cycle? And I mentioned earlier, right here, the biggest pain is not having something to fall back on. So these SOPs, these training manuals, have those packaged up nicely, because there's going to be turnover. There's going to be turnover all the time. It's how fast you recover from that turnover. So,
Actually, that's a problem for, because I've been writing my business plan. I have 2 businesses, and I don't have kids. I don't know who to give this to after I'm done.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I guess that's the first time, yeah, eventually you'll have to sell it. You know, you keep growing this business, but nobody wants to follow you. You know,
Yeah.
they don't know what I'm doing. Actually, I found out, my nephew didn't even, I was vice president of something. I think he thought I was a nurse.
Yeah.
The whole 30 years. Patient. So, you know, that's one thing now that I'm planning my business and growing it, I don't know what to do with it, let's say 10 years from now, although I'm not planning to retire, but you know, what are you going to do? You don't have kids.
Yeah.
So, who do you give it to?
Yeah, there's charitable foundations of Vincent Wu. I can take it out for that. No, but that is a real concern. You know, you spend your life, you spend your career, you spend your blood, sweat, and tears on something so valuable. At the end of the day, it's who you're going to hand this off to.
Yeah.
But there's so many other psychological and personal beliefs, whether it's personal fulfillment or you're doing a service for the greater good. It takes, if you're trying to sell it off too, it does take at the very least a year. That's if you have clean books, clean financials, and a nicely packaged business that's describable on paper and visually appealing. It takes at the very least a year. I think at most, it could take 4 years to sell it, like while it's being marketed by brokers. I think on average, I've heard if you're selling a business, it takes like on average like 1.5 to 2 years to really sell it, while already packaged and on the market. You're going to go through due diligence phases, financially and operationally. But yeah, 3 to 5 months is the time it takes to recover from a resource gap. I mentioned at the very beginning of this hiring, you don't want to go back to recruiting. And you want to speed, once you are done with recruiting though, you want to speed through this as much as possible. Interviewing, hiring, onboarding, so that they're back and ready to go. So package up all those SOPs, those training manuals, those systems, those tools, those rosters, those racing matrices, package up those nicely so that this person is ready to go. And then the most ideal state is cross-training. Every task has a backup. You got a backup for everything. And that backup doesn't have to know every intricate detail, but at least they know the general purpose of that body of work. And they're hopefully sharp enough to continue that business or that task for maybe 2 to 3 months while you're recovering. And business operating models, I'll speed through this one. We talked a lot about people. We've talked a ton about people today. Processes, we talked a little bit about, mainly on the RACI side. Define all your processes, whether they could be physical, whether they could be digital. I did not talk a lot about systems, and that was intentional, because I don't know what your systems are. Gas stations are going to be completely different from food manufacturing, which is going to be completely different from real estate. But you have to find your right software that tailors to your needs as a business. You have to define what your business needs are. Assets are pretty self-explanatory. It's physical assets, equipment, machinery, real estate, tools, just anything that you purchase that drives the business forward. Third parties, contractors, customers, and vendors. And why I put this is because I learned this when I was in management consulting, and it really guides how I operate and organize my brain. Every business project, campaign, marketing campaign, transformation, you'll need to define your people, who your people are, what they do. People follow processes. Processes are a collection of business tasks that are in a system that uses assets to cater to their parties. So if you have this, it's very similar to the who, what, where, when, why, how of your business. So I always, when I work on change management from current state to future state, I always re-baseline my current state. And then I define what my future state looks like. And then I chop it down. How do I get there? Month 1, 3, 5, 7, 10, so on and so forth. And as a business owner, you're always going to be in transition mode. I'm sorry to say. That was a little tough lesson I learned too. I thought it was going to be static. I thought it was going to be nice and clean. I thought I was going to ride out onto the sunset in Bali, but that's not happening. So I've had to change my expectations. I've had to learn that it's forever growth. Because if you're not competing with the market, you're going to compete with your employers or employees. They're going to want some benefits. They're going to want some more pay. They're going to want this. Then eventually you're going to be competing with the market. So you're always, as a business owner, absorbing as much as you can, analyzing that, absorbing that, then deploying that as fast as you can too. It's almost like an hourglass funnel. This is just something I put in my office. It's the same thing. It's the business models: people, process, systems, assets, third party. In my warehouse, people, process, systems, assets. In my shipping department, in my production department, in my quality department. And then every month or so, I put red, yellow, and green Post-its where I feel the business is red, yellow, and green. And if it's yellow here, I'm like, okay, I'll figure that out later because I got to figure out the reds. So this is more of a post-it bulletin board for me that I just slap on, and it allows me to focus my energy as we're playing a game of whack-a-mole. It's forever whack-a-mole. And the central is where I live. If you're in business ownership and you're in management, you're always planning. You're looking out. You should be looking out 3 months in advance, at the very least. Because all your staff, all your managers, they're worried about this week, next week, 3 weeks from now. But you as a business owner, in order to keep it driving, keep it moving like a truck, you gotta look at least 3 months ahead. And then you're having strategy discussions and conversations during those planning sessions. Then you're just deploying that execution, and you're hoping that, I don't want to say hope is a bad word, but you're guiding your employees to execute your tasks that you're envisioning them to do. And then you're monitoring them with KPIs, performance management, delivering results that you need, and it just recycles over and over and over again. But this business model of people, process, system, assets, third parties, it's in every department, and that's where you help organize yourself from a brain standpoint. If you're feeling kind of sparse, you don't know how to organize your thoughts or tasks, these are some operating model tools. And that's it. So if there's any specific questions, feel free to ask now, or that's also my email.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for staying 7 minutes, 8 minutes over.